I'm on today with Miss Denisha Merriweather. She is the founder of an organization called Black Minds Matter. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be spotlighted on your platform, so I really appreciate it.
You're doing fantastic work. I'm happy to be able to have the opportunity to talk with you and help my audience and as many people as possible. Just be aware of what you're doing because it's such good work right now. Let me read the mission statement real quick, or the About Us on your website, just to give people an idea of exactly what the organization is. Black Minds Matter is a national movement to celebrate Black minds, support excellence, and promote the development of high quality school options for Black students. Our essence and our being deserve life. Can you explain more?
Yeah, that's right. It's really a national movement to bring awareness to the institutional inequalities that take place all over America in our education system, and which are too many. And so our tagline, our essence and our being deserve life, is really a testament to all of the work that I hope to see that everyone takes on, because we have the I'll just speak plainly. The Black Lives Matter movement and the political forces behind the Black Lives Matter movement don't support school choice, don't support Black students in America receiving a high quality education through their parents choosing. And I have a real hard problem with that. And so the Black Minds Matter movement seeks to elevate that issue and let it be known to everyone that if you're going to support, if you're going to, say that Black bodies shouldn't be killed at the hands of police, Black minds should not be killed in schools. And so, because too many of our students across America are lagging behind their white peers, and we make up most of the criminal justice system. And I just have a hard time with all of these facts and these statistics that come out with for African American kids. And so that's what, with the Black Minds Matter movement, seek to raise awareness on that and celebrate the great things that are happening within the community.
Nice. So on a day-to-day basis, what does the work look like on the ground?
So that's a great question, because most of it is highlighting Black owned and founded schools, actually. And so we, on our website, we have the first online directory of Black owned schools. And of course, these are not traditional district public schools. These are private schools. These are charter schools. These are homeschool co-ops, virtual schools, micro schools, all of these great innovative options. And they're led by African Americans in this country. And so the most of the work is finding these schools, putting them on the directory, connecting with the founders and hearing their stories, highlighting them, in order, and just bringing the attention that these Black owned businesses exist and we should continue to talk about them. And I say that because we don't oftentimes hear about Black owned schools. When we're talking about Black owned businesses, we hear about banks, we hear about bookstores, we hear about restaurants, but these schools are providing education options for our students, and they're a major threat to the teachers union, because the teachers union do not support school choice, and they're oftentimes holding up this facade of morality when it comes to the African American community, saying that they employ Black people, and they work to desegregate schools so that Black students and white students can learn together. Well, I say hogwash to all of that, and I say, why don't we empower all of these Black, not to just to be Black teachers, but how about we empower them to lead and own their own schools? And we can't talk about that conversation with the teachers union because they're so against school choice. And so that's what the day-to-day work looks like.
Yeah, and I think over the last year with the COVID restrictions, the mask has kind of come off. We've seen a lot of lobbying and effort from teachers unions to keep schools closed. And a lot of the teachers, especially the ones that I know, but I think just as kind of a general rule, they tend to be a little more supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. But it's like, if you support Black lives, why are you turning around and supporting policies that extend the length of time that massive disparities exist between Blacks and whites and Hispanics when it comes to reading scores, when it comes to math scores? You're doing everything in your power to not elevate Black students. So it takes outside organizations like yours to step in and fill the gap and basically do the job that these teachers unions and the people who are paying those dues are supposed to be doing themselves.
That's exactly right. We see these statistics all across the country where you have 15 out of 100 African American Black students can read on grade level. 13% out of 100 can do math on grade level. 9% out of 100 do civics on grade level, can perform on civics. So these are really sad statistics. And, we have this thing called the school to prison pipeline. And I just want to call it what it is. It's the public school to prison pipeline. These are district run government schools who are literally making a feeder system from the K through 12 to the prison system. And we know that 70% of Black boys who do not graduate from high school will end up in the prison system. And school choice changes all of that. The studies have shown time and time again that students who graduate from choice programs, private school choice programs, and charter schools go to college, not only graduate from high school, go to college, and then on top of that, graduate from college way more than their peers in the public education system. And so these are our brown babies. Most of the school choice programs are for low income minority students and for students with special needs. So these are our babies. These are the kids who are Black and brown. And so when you hold up those statistics and you see that the public education system has not been affirming Black identity when it comes to educating the minds of kids, but they want to hold up this facade and say that they're supporting the Black bodies, Black lives. Those two do not correlate when you don't support both.
So what sort of support have you received from uh, communities? What sort of support have you received from different states? Are you seeing a lot of effort at the governmental level to sort of assist you in your movement and what you're doing?
So I've seen a lot of boots on the ground, grassroots support. People are loving the movement, loving the just saying Black Minds Matter. Every time I wear the swag, mask, t-shirts, hoodie, everyone is just like, yes, that's what we need. We need more conversation around this. At the governmental level, yes, I've interviewed a lot of congressmen. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but yes, I've interviewed congressmen and talked to them about Black Minds Matter movement. And I have their interviews up on the platform, and also at the state and local level, interviewing elected officials who are supportive of the movement, supportive of education options for students. And I've definitely seen support in that realm. I definitely would love to see more support, not only from the people who are obviously going to be engaged on the issue when it comes to school choice, but I would love to see more people, more of our Democratic legislators, be supportive of the issue when it comes to Black Minds Matter, because they're often the ones, because of the funding that they receive from the teachers union, who are not necessarily 100% on board publicly with saying that they support school choice. But at the end of the day, Black Minds Matter is an opportunity to highlight, celebrate school choice options for Black and brown students. I want to make it very known that there are Black people who are leading schools. I like to talk about it as education entrepreneurship. We have a lot of education entrepreneurs when it comes to the school choice and Black owned school space. And so I want more people in at the government level be aware of them. And when we talk about Black owned businesses, and these, a lot of companies are now creating grants and funds for Black owned businesses, that now we can shift some of those monies and support into Black owned schools as well.
So what do you think needs to happen to sort of get more of the stragglers on board, the people who still, for whatever reasons they might have, which are myriad, but are still opposed to school choice? What do you think it's going to take to be able to sway them and see this as a viable option to improve in educational outcomes for not even just Black children, but all children across the board?
Yeah, well, we've already seen a lot of support for school choice increase just during, like you mentioned, COVID, just during this past year because of COVID. So many parents, so many elected officials asked was, they started to ask questions. They started to, scratch their head to try to figure out why are some schools opening back up and others are not? What's going on here, and why are some parents able to fund and pay for out of their pocket these pods and these micro school options, whereas low income students who are oftentimes minority are not able to pay for those same options. And so that COVID has literally blew this out of the water, and it's really become a testament to school choice. We went from about maybe a 60-50% support for school choice to now high 70s 80% nationwide for school choice. So there's not a lot of convincing that needs to go on. That was one of the silver linings of the pandemic, where parents were actually saying, we have a problem here and we need to fix it. And obviously there's still some things that need to be worked out within the education space writ large. And I believe that providing more innovative options within the space can definitely help with that. So I say that all to say that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, yes, in convincing legislators to come out and publicly support the expansion of education options. But there has definitely been an increase in support within the individual citizens for school choice, for options. And with the whole movement, a lot of people are now looking at ways where they can serve minorities well, especially during this divided time that we are constantly living in, but more people are just becoming more aware of it. And so that's garnered a lot of support for my project, Black Minds Matter, but also for Black owned schools, and just the reframing of our minds of how we think about supporting African Americans in this country. And so, like I said, I like to call them education entrepreneurs. They're amazing, these founders of schools across the country. So I definitely want to put a plug out there for anyone listening and they want to interview them, they want to talk to them, figure out why they started to do it, because they are the real champions.
So what sort of success stories have you had so far?
One of my favorite, I shouldn't say favorite, I've talked to a lot of them, these founders of Black owned schools. But one of my favorites is a Montessori school that's founded by a group of friends. They're women in Tennessee, and Nia Montessori School. They're a Black owned school, and their student base is so diverse. And just their life, their spirit, providing a Montessori education for students is just life bringing. And I'm kind of biased. I live in a jungle. My apartment is filled with plants from top to bottom, and so their approach to learning with chickens and livestock, and having kids in this raw natural state, Montessori type style education is just brought so much life. And on another end, I've interviewed charter school founders who want to provide an HBCU yeah, type of feel to their K through 12 space, and be a streamline for students go into an HBCU field type, K through 12 environment, and then hopefully go to a HBCU school. So I've interviewed a spectrum of schools that's on the directory, and it really does just speak to the diaspora of, the types of people Black people are. I sometimes people think, oh, it's all going to be Umgawa Black Power, Pan African, but it's like there's such a diversity. Most people I've interviewed people also, and they're like, I didn't realize I was a Black owned school until I got an email from you. And so these are just the types. I'm just such a fan of all of them. They're doing really good work, and most of them, they're not concerned with publicity. They're literally heads down trying to educate students, and so they're superheroes.
So what can people do to help you in your organization?
So I would say one, if you know of a Black-owned school, please email me, submit it on the website, blackmindsmatter.net. I'm trying to find every single mom and pop to gigantic Black-owned school in the country to be highlighted on this website. I'd also say, spread the word. That's something that's necessary. About Black Minds Matter. Word of mouth is the most powerful tool. I think the best marketing tactic we can all have is word of mouth. So just spread the word about Black Minds Matter. Visit our website and join the movement. And you can receive updates about how to get involved politically with putting pressure on some candidates. But I'd say it's just spread the word.
Now, I have one other thought that I wanted to try to squeeze in here. So, have you had any resistance by anybody, either at the political level or with unions, who are trying to sort of interfere with your ability to spread this message?
I would say yes and no. Because we launched during the pandemic, a lot of the work was done online, social media, Twitter, and I've received some interesting commentary. I would just say, and my approach to dealing with resistance definitely has grown and shifted as I continue to talk about Black Minds Matter, as I continue to engage with people on social media. And now that we're opening back up, I'm able to do a lot more in-person events, and most of the conflict is obviously not around policy, because when it comes to pull back the covers policy of education freedom, no one really has no one can refute the stance of school choice, because it makes no sense. And especially when I'm talking about empowering people within the African American community, when most of the people at the end of the totem pole lagging in achievement gap are African Americans. Most of it's been on the race stuff. And so I've really grown with how I deal with that conversation. Because it does kind of excite you, like, oh, I want to
So,
be.
so how do you handle that conversation though?
Well, right now it's been just ignoring a lot of people on Twitter, on Facebook. Video
Hmm.
comments is just being ignoring people who have something to say about Black Minds Matter when it has nothing to do with the policy. Because it's not productive, and these people have like 2 followers, and so I'm not going to waste my energy on refuting nonsense. But
And
at the
somebody with
same
a
time,
cat
that's
avatar.
taken. Yeah, exactly. The avatars, they have a lot to say. But I would say, that's taken a lot of growth. Because it's hard to separate from your personal. You want to lash out, you want to, claim your territory and defend everything. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not even worth it. And if you're talking about the policy, if you're actually wanting to learn and wanting to know more, I'm super happy to engage with people in that space. But otherwise, brush the haters off.
Nice. Well, here's where I want to end. I want you to take 30 seconds to do a little 30-second elevator pitch to any parent who might be watching who's still not completely sold on charter schools, not completely sold on school choice. What's your message to that parent right now?
Mm. Black Minds Matter is a national movement to liberate Black minds. I see too often across the country where African American students are not performing well in school. They're least likely to be identified as gifted and talented, but they're more likely to be in a special needs classroom. And I think that that's absolutely wrong. African American students should not be being expelled from schools at higher rates, being suspended and going to prison at higher rates than people who have a different skin tone. And Black Minds Matter, we seek to bring awareness to all of this, but also at the same time celebrate the options that have been given to Black and Brown students at the hands of founders. And so these are founders of schools who are Black people, Black owned schools in the country. And so check us out at blackmindsmatter.net if you're seeking to choose a better school for your brown baby. And yeah.
All right. Denisha Merriweather, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.